to lead and spread the CCP's tyranny to the whole country. Under the instigation of the 610 office, the suppression exploited all state machinery. The army and paramilitary police have directly taken part in the abduction and arrest of Falun Gong practitioners. The news media in China have fabricated and spread lies. The state security system has made chaos in society and among Falun Gong practitioners by fabricating false articles in the name of Falun Gong founder Li Hongzhi. The National People's Congress and the judicial system have put on airs of legality and the garb of the rule of law to justify crimes committed by Jiang Zemin and the CCP. The diplomatic system has spread lies in the international community. It has enticed foreign governments, senior officials, and international media with political and economic incentives so that they will remain silent on the persecution of Falun Gong. The black cloud of oppression that began to choke the country signaled that something as drastic as the Cultural Revolution was about to start all over again. During its long-term reign of tyranny and heavy-handed rule, the party has created the strongest and most evil system of state terror. It employs violence, lies, and information blockage. In all of its previous political movements, the party accumulated systematic and effective methods and the experience to punish, harm, and kill people on a large scale. The party's levels of inhumanity and deceit are at the highest professional level. Its scale and extent are unprecedented. At the beginning of the suppression, Jiang Zemin established 3 core policies of the persecution: to ruin Falun Gong practitioners' reputations, to bankrupt them financially, and to destroy them physically. He also ordered that when practitioners appeal or distribute Falun Gong materials and are arrested, that they should be beaten badly. He stated that, if practitioners are beaten to death, it is nothing and shall be counted as suicide. And he ordered the public security to cremate their bodies directly without verifying their identity. No official written documents were usually issued. Coded telegrams or oral messages were delivered. There were no signatures, and every message was described as comments from the Central Committee. The policy of ruining Falun Gong practitioners' reputations has been carried out by the media, which is under the absolute control of the CCP. Based on the available statistics, within the first 6 months of the persecution alone, over 300,000 news articles and programs smearing and targeting Falun Gong were published or broadcast. In the remaining months of 1999 after the persecution began, CCTV spent 7 hours a day broadcasting pre-programmed footage to spread lies about Falun Gong. Producers of these programs started by distorting and falsifying speeches by Mr. Li Hongzhi, founder of Falun Gong, then threw in cases of so-called suicide, murder, and death due to refusal of medical treatment. They did everything they could to smear and frame Falun Gong and its founder. As with previous political movements launched by the CCP, the purpose of criticism and spreading rumors was to instigate and provoke one part of society to fight another part of society. However, this time, people who had experienced many political movements were sick of the CCP's overwhelming criticism and propaganda. They would rather put their time and energy into earning more money and making a better life for themselves. Falun Gong practitioners keep appealing for Falun Gong and clarifying the truth to their relatives, their friends, colleagues, and leaders in their work units, as well as to the public security organizations and government departments. So, although the CCP media made a strong attack on Falun Gong at the surface, the effect of the suppression was not as it wished. In their commentary on November 25, 1999, the People's Daily had to admit that an inclination to battle weariness existed. saying that many people's response to the suppression was that it was just some people practicing Falun Gong and keeping fit, that it wasn't worth going to war. The criticism of Falun Gong was being viewed as a storm in a teacup. In order to carry out the battle of exposing and criticizing Falun Gong to the end, the CCP believed that hatred was a necessary condition. If there was no hatred, the CCP could make hatred. So, the farce of the so-called self-immolation at Tiananmen Square was created on the Chinese New Year's Eve in January 2001. This particular farce may be the CCP's lie of the century. It took advantage of the goodness in people's hearts and went to elaborate preparations to select the participants of the so-called self-immolation, including a young girl, an orphan, and a widow. It made their finale extremely tragic. One died on the spot and one was disfigured. It took advantage of the people's patriotic spirit and chose the spot of the self-immolation carefully, Tiananmen Square. It utilized the fastest and the most pervasive means to spread the so-called news. It used CCTV News and a TV program that has the highest audience rating called Focal Point Interview. The incident was spread to the whole world with an unprecedented speed. We know that CCTV reaches 90% of the population in China. Its audience exceeds 1.1 billion people. The CCTV uses 4 languages, including Chinese, English, French, and Spanish, and many dialects to cover the world through its satellite transmissions. So, as soon as the self-immolation farce came out, the whole of China saw it, the United States saw it, and even Taiwan saw it. However, a lie is just a lie. It cannot stand careful scrutiny, rational thinking, and analysis. If we look at the slow-motion playback of the Focal Point interview program video, we can see that Liu Chunling, one of the self-immolators, died when she was forcefully struck down on the scene. The murderer was caught in a pose suggesting he had just used the killing force. The footage reported that Wang Jindong was seriously burned, but his hair, which usually is the first thing to burn in a fire, was untouched, and the plastic Sprite bottle filled with gasoline remained intact between his knees. Liu Baorong, another of the self-immolators, claimed she drank about half a bottle of gasoline, but common scientific sense tells us that drinking 1/10 of an ounce of gasoline per pound of body weight will cause death. The little girl, Xi Ying, could talk with the interviewers very clearly just a few days after she had a tracheotomy. If the purpose of self-immolation was to ascend to heaven, why not go to a spot with beautiful scenery rather than go to Tiananmen Square, where the police are constantly on high alert? If the self-immolation was to protest the persecution, doesn't the fact that anyone would do such a thing show how cruel the CCP's suppression must be? Later, this incident was criticized by numerous international organizations as a government-staged action meant to deceive the public. While being interviewed, a member of the TV crew admitted that some of the footage shown on CCTV was in fact shot afterwards. The unscrupulous nature of the oppressors is obvious. In fact, Falun Gong clearly requires that practitioners cannot kill lives. Suicide is also a sin. Mr. Li Hongzhi even clearly pointed out in the book Zhuan Falun that those who just practice the sets of movement but do not upgrade their character according to the requirements of Falun Dafa cannot be regarded as Falun Gong practitioners. Only those who really behave according to the character standards of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance can be regarded as true practitioners. These participants claimed themselves to be Falun Gong practitioners, but what they said and did departed from Falun Gong's principles and teachings. While spinning out rumors and fabricating lies, the CCP has done everything in its power to block the flow of information. It has relentlessly suppressed any overseas reports on Falun Gong activities, as well as any reasonable defense by practitioners. all Falun Gong books